Good. How about you?
Good.
Just mentioned to Michael about the Rutgers, and you can see, Chris Ash, God bless him, didn't have a lot to work with when he got there. But you can see the framework of the house coming together, the toughness. What sticks out to you on film about their defense?
You do see that stick out, and I would say toughness. Toughness and effort on defense. They are, you would say, maybe a very stout physical team up front, running the football well and covering space.
Looking at a guy like Damian, I mean, he's been here 4 or 5 years. How has his development been like? I guess not just as a football player, but as a person off the field as well.
I look at Damian's experience as far as how he has developed through the process of 5 years and in his impact on our team today. He has done a great job in the room as far as leadership, being an example to Brian, helping Brian through the process of being the quarterback. And so he's really had a great senior year, even though publicly people may not see that.
And when he is going on the field on the last play of senior day, I know it didn't go as well as you guys hoped for. But what do you tell a guy like that, especially after 5 years, where he might not have been playing as much as he wants to, but he's obviously stuck with the program over the years?
The tough thing on quarterback is you have to be ready every play. And he's prepared himself in a way that if the situation would arise, he'd be ready to go in.
Brad, in an Ohio State game, of course, I was watching Lewerke extremely carefully, as everybody was, because that was a rare day of oppositional brute force that he was dealing with between the pass rush and also between DBs like Saran Wrap on those receivers. And I saw a lot of probably appropriate critiques afterwards, even by Mark, even by, I think, Brian Lewerke, that maybe I didn't have my best day. And the thought from afar, from a sideline seat, was, are you kidding me? Between that combination of rush and, again, that defense on your receivers, how is he supposed to complete anything? But did he have a bit of an off day that day, even taking into context all those realities?
Well, I think, he had an off day, but at times defenses make you have an off day.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah.
And I do think Brian, he's very critical of himself. And so you look at that as another growing opportunity as a quarterback, another chance to reflect how you perform as a quarterback. And so I know he took some positives from a negative situation.
His continuum, you might say, his gradation here through the second half of the season, how have you seen it evolve?
Played very well. He's had some games where he's had to make some big plays at the end of a game and put some balls in some tight windows. You've looked at his growth really as it's kind of climbed through the season, and still very young as a quarterback, but excited about where he's going to end up.
Where do you put him on a scale of kids at his level reading what's going on the other side?
He has a very good understanding of what we're doing offensively and what they're doing defensively. And I don't know what level or rating scale you're trying to put him on, or
No, I mean, I just wondered if there was anything remarkable, extraordinary, or just simply fairly average about that.
no. I think he's remarkable right now, and knowing where to go with the football at his age.
I asked this same question of Tress. I'll ask you, scout team. One name that we hear a lot of your guys talking about is Todd on the defensive line, and about other players. But who sticks out to you on? I mean, like Joe Bacci talked about Diarra almost dragging him into a film room saying, you got to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And they were all just kind of surprised at his hunger, his fight, his go. What guys are sticking out to you? I know that you're offense, but you're seeing those guys more than the defensive guys are.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that stand out is Todd, how he's physical at the point of attack. Really, I think as a group, that freshman group is really doing a very good job. It's hard because they're trying to mimic defensively, so maybe it's not what we do. So as far as structure, but they play fast as a group and they play hard.
After back-to-back 400-yard games, the last 2 weeks obviously haven't gone as well. Do you have to build up confidence after 2 weeks like that, or try and rebuild chemistry between the guys, or is it just a matter of keep doing what you're doing and the results will?
I think you keep doing what you're doing. You're playing in a situation last week, obviously. Elements were part of it, but he's played very well in some poor conditions, at Minnesota, at Michigan, and so he has continued. Brian has continued to grow through the process. It's how do you deal with maybe a negative performance and move on to the next one, and he'll be very good at that.
Even though weather did kind of play a role in the way that Brian played, Coach D said yesterday that he did a very good job at being a game manager. Can you Can you kind of speak to what you saw out of Brian on Saturday and how he's kind of progressed through the whole season as becoming a game manager?
Every week he's getting more comfortable. And you look at Saturday's game, we always kind of say the two statements for a quarterback when you go into a game is make great decisions and manage the game. Those are the two things. And you look at it in a sense, it might be making plays, but his first scramble on the first touchdown drive, his run on the one touchdown, he did a great job of taking care of the football and getting it to where it needed to be. Obviously, don't have the completions and maybe the total yardage that you'd like as a quarterback, but he did a great job in the conditions of putting us in a position to win.
Brad, can you go back a little bit on his recruiting? Tell us a little story about your awareness, and I know that you were fundamental in that relationship, but it would be interesting to know a few more particulars, even though I know these guys have probably heard them a few times.
We had started to branch out a little bit nationally. I'm trying to think of what year it was. It was his junior season, but each of us took a little area. I took Arizona and went southwest a little bit. I think no one's from Arizona. They got somebody, a relative from the Midwest, so go down to Phoenix and got to know some kid. We were recruiting the class ahead of him, but his dad had shown interest, and Brian had, and looked around the country at different, maybe pro-style places or places that had success with quarterbacks. And so he had reached out to me. I remember specifically when his dad called. I was actually driving to see Matt Morrissey in Chicago, and I remember I had watched Brian's film and thought this was a pretty good quarterback. And so we had a chance to go down and see him, I think later that winter, and then he came up and visited in the spring. We've been very patient in our process of recruiting quarterback because you have to know who they are as people. I think all the kids you recruit that are offerable kids, they can all throw and do the things you need to physically. It's what makes them tick. And so the hard part in this recruiting process is getting to know kids, because really you can't sit down with them unless they come to your place. So
Makeup was essential to your desire to recruit him as was the release or anything else.
yeah, you're able to see the physical attributes, but you got to know him a little bit as a person through his coach, who I'd known before, and my older brother's friends with his coach, and so there's a relationship there. But you learn a little bit of intangibles.
And then the wheels too. I mean,
Yeah, you saw that on film, and especially his senior year, you saw more, but you knew he had the ability to escape. And obviously he's done a great job running with football this year.
I think he only does a 4.65, but boy, he always looks faster.
As long as you don't get caught.
No, but is that's more of a visual, maybe more deceit on what I'm seeing.
I would say 4.6 is fast.
Well,
If you look at the
yeah.
combine,
I mean, this is not a running back
yeah.
we're talking about, but
Yeah.
he always looks, that step of his, that stride is really impressive.
He has a very quick, first couple of steps to get separation.
Yeah.
Those of us that know you and your family, we know how important that is. With Thanksgiving, what are you most thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family, and then truly thankful for really this family, every day with the players and just the day-to-day interaction that we have with our players and coaches.
Anything else, Coach?
All right. Thanks guys. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Appreciate your time.
Mr. Henning,
have to take one
come sit with me for a minute.
Arizona.